Look at these images. What does it inflict on you? Joy, happiness, maybe pain, or sadness? This unwavering feeling in the pit of your stomach. This feeling deep within you to hold it tight and to relive it one more time. Here, we'll explore the deep complexity of wanting to go back to somewhere in the past. A quote-unquote better time. First off, let's answer the question, what is nostalgia? Well, if you do what I do and Google it, it tells you nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wishful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. And I'd say that's true. Yeah, it does it pretty well. But I feel like nostalgia is one of those feelings that are hard to express, but so easy to feel. Nostalgia is one of those feelings that tightens your heart and gives a strange feeling that leaves you standing still, flashing images of old and better times, wanting, chasing for it to happen again. But besides the feeling, it wasn't always such a crucial cut. It actually was a combination with another thing called homesickness. In the late 17th century, medical student Johannes Hofer had discovered this thing called nostalgia and published his discovery in a book called Medical Dissertation on Nostalgia in 1688. He discovered it while working on soldiers that had this insufferable feeling they got from being far from home. And unlike the movie, this was an actual problem. A mental and psychological burden so great it led to real deaths as a result. The meaning coming from Greek words nostos, meaning homecoming or returning home, and algos, which means pain or suffering. These deaths came from extreme cases where people got symptoms like depression, sadness, anxiety, insomnia, and maybe even physical illness. At the time, you might have thought it was homesickness. And to clarify, nostalgia was a base disorder, but homesickness was a more extreme version of it. Until the early 20th century, nostalgia and homesickness started to separate. A big part of this separation was a man who wasn't a poet or a psychologist, but a sociologist, Fred Davis. In his work, Yearning for Yesterday, he distinctly explored the terms of nostalgia from a sociological perspective. At this point, nostalgia was stripped from the list of psychological disorders, taken off mental health condition, transforming it and turning into a broader version we know now. So if nostalgia just means the great feeling of suffering and wanting for something to return, what does it mean for you? And what does it inflict on you? Well, from a simple Google search, I get told it's caused by a combination of sensory and emotional triggers. So if you feel nostalgia, you are indeed a weak person. Okay, maybe that's not true, but all those triggers remind us of meaningful or happy times from the past, like shows, images, people, maybe even phrases can shoot someone back. If we go back to Yearning for Yesterday, Davis explains that nostalgia is something that is impossible to express, something that can only be first-hand experienced, and later on shown from a dance, music, poetry, or even art. In the book, he later explains this part is what we call familiar paradox, that what can be invoked cannot, in its truest sense, be described, and vice versa. He even says to get closer to that feeling of what is called nostalgia, you have to deep dive so far that it becomes the borderline diagnosis made by Hofer. So instead of asking a robot what love feels, maybe ask it how nostalgia feels. That could work, I think. Describing the word as perfect, nothing that could make a mix of the present discontent, yearning, joy, and a sense of sadness. So taking all this to account, I want to ask you, what does nostalgia inflict on you? Is it bittersweet, a happy fondness of the past, or a deep sadness of something that will never come back? You see, this might seem like a simple cut answer, but I asked to prove my next point. Why is nostalgia so powerful? Turning to the next chapter of Yearning for Yesterday, Davis says, a big part of nostalgia is the identity it provides on someone, from their younger stages of life to their oldest. He provides that nostalgia is in its most powerful state when there is a shift from a personal standpoint or societal. It would almost be impossible to feel nostalgic in a world that is always the same or perfect. This drive from changes has been proven to be true by many world disasters, wars, social norms, and even personal changes of lifestyle or changes of environment, and the most common, psychological changes. This all leads me to the present time. In a period of time with so much worry and hate, of course people want to go back to a more peaceful time, a happier time, a time with the highest depression rates and at the borderline of a civil war and even a full-on scale war. It is no surprise people look back fondly. Sometimes the world becomes a burden, crushing someone, but those images seem like a time machine that holds no worries. Maybe sometimes it's even comforting. Now this quote from Sean Kierkegaard, hopefully I pronounced that right, isn't based on nostalgia, but I believe it represents it well. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. Now take this like a grain of salt, because it doesn't have to do anything with nostalgia, and I will probably use this later in the future, but I say this. The reason nostalgia is so powerful is not only because of the said changes in life, but because at one point people will hit a bottom and life will become worse. The transition from a good life to a bad one will hit harder than the opposite. Sadness is one of the strongest feelings, and in the midst of sadness, you go back and think of things you loved, because a future without things you love seems miserable. You see, people look back fondly because those times were simpler, times without worry, where people just lived their lives. A time someone could be free, a time with a person that their future no longer holds. A future excludes that. That is why nostalgia is such a powerful force. Now, why am I spouting all this? Well, it's because people nowadays are blinded by nostalgia, refusing to accept the present. From favoriting old shows to not doing anything for Christmas, but reminiscing about it. I see a lot of people say we should go back to this, or it should still be like this. I've even seen multiple things online and on TikTok saying they'd wish to go back as a child and relive a moment of time because of how bad life is now. And I'm here to say it's important to let go. Yes, you hear me. It's okay to let go. And I'm not here to tell you that things are fine now and it's gonna be okay. I'm no prophet. I can't tell you anything, and I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm just saying it's important because people are blind by nostalgia. It's easy to cross the lines of believing of something you want and what you need. You need to look forward and start moving. Without that, I believe there is no growth. But if you believe me or not, that's up to you. But let me give you some examples of why you should look forward instead of backwards. A big common one is one we actually had a couple months ago. Halloween. Talking about Halloween in January? Yep, so here we go. Everywhere I looked at Halloween was always people complaining about how Halloween felt different, how the spirit had left, and I guess this is a continuation of my Christmas video because it had similar traits. If you think this video of nostalgia is nice, maybe go check that one out. But it's because most people would much rather remember the good times than make it better. The difference isn't that they're getting older, but that they're not getting the same experience as they once did. Now, children going out for Halloween has been on the fence for a while, and I've seen a lot of things that say they aren't going, they are. But I say those people who are now a part of this new generation of adults have to stop looking back and make it worth it for the new generation. And even if it's not for the people around them and just for them, they could get more of a spirit, and that spirit could transfer to other people. And for different examples, this game keeps following me, I guess, but we're going back to Fortnite. What I want to bring up is that every time a new chapter comes out, people call it bad, trash, awful, and other things. But once that season's over and something else comes out, for some reason, they start reminiscing about it. I even saw examples about a game I just recently picked up again, Marvel Rivals. This game has about a couple seasons, but there was people nostalgic about the first season that ever came out. And this game has only been out for a year or two. You see, nostalgia is a very great, powerful thing, but it blinds people from the new stuff because they're worried about the past and what they used to have. Time has changed, and the reality is, time won't stop. In the world of infinite time, when your life is just a speck, I feel it's important to stop worrying about the past that no longer exists. So Saul, am I just supposed to force a smile and forget the past? Just keep moving on forward like nothing ever happened? No, I'm not saying that. Just like every coming of age book, film, or game, at some point you have to accept the past is the past and let it go. But that doesn't mean you have to truly let it go. Ambivalence, it makes of feelings that are contrary or conflicting feelings. Like when you feel love and hate at the same time, but instead, in this case, you are accepting the past, but at the same time not. It's okay to look back. You should get back on that old game or rewatch that one show to reminisce on older times. Just don't force them on today. Once you start comparing, that's when you become blind. This quote has probably been stripped from its real meaning and been overused all over Facebook by many moms. But I think because of that overuse, no one really looks at it for its real meaning anymore, which is a shame. Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Dr. Seuss, he wasn't a real doctor. This quote tells you the basis of what I'm trying to tell you. Maybe you should read it again. Does it hurt? A bit uncomfortable? Maybe a hint of slight happiness? Or corniness because of how overused it is? No matter how it makes you feel, it'll be alright. Unfortunately, we're just human. But fortunately, we are human. This feeling of nostalgia hurts. Makes a deep hole in my stomach. But when I look back at that same set of memories that hurt to see, maybe I am grateful it happened. I know it won't be the same for everyone, but if you are fortunate enough, try and look back. You might understand what I mean. Maybe life forces you to move forward, but sometimes it's okay to look back and smile. Not because it's gone, but because it happened. So don't be blind. Don't force things from the past that don't belong in the now. So live life in the present, at least as much as you can. Wait, the video isn't over? Well, it's past the 9-minute mark, so what am I doing? Well, one night I was drinking Monster, feeling the heart attack while playing Marvel Rivals. As I scrolled on TikTok, I saw an edit, and it was filled with old games I used to play and things I used to love. I mean, I still love them, but I don't really play them as much, nor have I even touched them in years. And it dawned on to me, why do I have to accept reality? I mean, it's underlined terrible. What's so wrong with me living in my own mind and separating myself from reality? Sure, I like the new things, but these memories keep me who I am. So why do I need to force them now when I grow up from the past? But then, then that lingering voice in the back of my head kept talking. And no matter how badly it sounds, it kept saying, it's because you'll never be that person ever again. Those visions that you see when you look back, yeah, those, you will never be the same. Whatever happiness you attach to something, those times will never return. So it's completely useless to keep those things alive. At least, I would have said that. But I stem from a place that doesn't want to live like that. I'd much rather use the past to learn, to keep trying, to remake those happy memories, and live for new ones. I know times are tough, and it won't be so pleasant all the time. But as long as you live in the present from time to time, just don't blind yourself with a world that no longer exists. Maybe this video wasn't just about forgetting and accepting the past and living forward, but about living with the past while continuously moving ahead. Sometimes memory hurts, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes reality hurts, and that's also fine. Just don't forget to not only remember, but to live. Hey, thanks for watching this video. First off, I just want to say we finally got a background. Hell yeah. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and maybe go check out my other content. I was unshamelessly sponsoring myself, but that's alright. I don't really know what I'll do here in the middle, but thanks to this guy for giving me a good comment. I'll probably add people up there in videos or something. If you enjoyed, I'll try to make a new video soon. Hopefully I'm not too busy editing, which I occasionally do, which sidetracks me, my bad. And I was bringing up Marvel Rivals a lot. Gambit main, if anyone wants to be my rogue for Valentine's. No? Okay, my bad. Well, you can check us out on Smoking Chimps or Salted on Twitch and see our gameplay on Marvel Rivals. I can't promise you good quality or any good gameplay, but hopefully some fun. And before anyone points it out, my thumbnail is based off that one Denji photo. And thank you all for the new subscribers. It only took me begging people to watch my video, but we got to almost 40, I think, as of now, views on our last video. So thank you so much for that. And I know my visuals in the videos might not be too impressive, so most people might just have me in the background, which is fine. Hell, I even do that with a lot of YouTubers. But if there is people that actually are watching and think I should add some stuff just to make it a bit more interesting, tell me down below in the comments. It would be helpful. And luckily for me, I just recently got a tablet, so I've started to make drawings and stuff to actually make my videos more interesting. Might even try animation, but that seems a little too hard for me. Anyways, been yapping for a little too long, and I think that's all I wanted to talk about. So I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.